The Hulk and Bruce Banner are truly incredible. As Tony would say, I'm a big fan of the way he loses control and turns into an enormous green rage monster. It's just a treat to watch him smash things, you know? But the Hulk doesn't always win, right? There are countless comic storylines where he not only gets his butt kicked, but he actually doesn't survive the encounter. Yeah, just who or what is powerful enough to take down the Hulk? And how gruesome does it get? Well, that's what I'm discussing today, so let's get started right now. In the MCU, the two strongest Avengers have punched it out a few times. Yes, I'm talking about Thor and Hulk. They first crossed paths on the helicarrier in the first Avengers movie, leading to a funny moment of Hulk nearly breaking the ship around him as he tried to pick up Thor's hammer. Then the two had a much more interesting battle on Sakaar when Thor thought his friend from work was chill, but turned out he was in a major fighting mood. But thanks to Thor Ragnarok in general, the two have formed an interesting partnership and general friendship that I want to see more of. I say all that to preface the fact that in the comics, Thor has taken out the Hulk a few times in brutal fashion. The first time was in a What If comic simply about what if the Hulk went berserk. In it, the Hulk, yeah, he goes berserk if you couldn't tell, and turns into the rampaging monster that the normal timeline Bruce fears he can become. It's an absolutely savage battle between Hulk and the other Avengers, with him mowing through them all like they were paper. It's only after Iron Man is crushed and it says his heart stops that Thor realizes what he must do. I don't think it says this in the comic, but I think Thor had just stepped out of a showing of Man of Steel and took a cue from that, meaning he snapped Hulk's neck. Not a pleasant way to go, and even though this is a what if, I don't think I'd ever imagine Hulk could have his neck broken like that. I know it's morbid, but that's not really a cool death, though it does show how strong Thor can be. And actually, this isn't the only time Thor has taken out the Hulk. In part 5 of the Reigning arc of Thor comics, it was revealed in a storyline that in the future, Thor sort of went off the deep end and decided he needed to rule over the 9 realms. Obviously, this created some backlash, and Earth's mightiest heroes had to stand against him. It's shown that all the heavy hitters like Wolverine, Captain America, Doctor Strange, The Thing, and the Hulk all tried to stop Thor's rampage, but to no avail. And there's a specific shot of the Hulk impaled through the chest while Thor stands triumphant. So if there's one Avenger who can constantly stand toe-to-toe with the Hulk, it's Thor. Do you think these two will ever fight again in the MCU? I hope so. Old Man Logan is a gruesome, dirty, fantastic comic story that really puts Wolverine through the ringer. This alternate universe is one where the world has mostly been conquered and divided by the supervillains, and it's not very pleasant to say the least. In the story, Logan lives with his wife and children in a territory known as Hulkland, which is run by the Hulk gang, which are hillbilly incestuous grandchildren of the Hulk himself. He owes the Hulk gang rent, and goes off to do a job in order to earn some income. But while he's gone, the Hulk gang gets bored and wipes out Logan's family anyways. Bummer. This, of course, sends Logan into another classic Logan rage, and he proceeds to wipe out every single member of the Hulk gang, leading him directly to the top dog. Now, Bruce Banner isn't doing so well in this comic if you haven't been able to tell. The gamma radiation has poisoned his brain in his old age, and he basically admits he had Logan's family executed just to get Logan angry enough to fight again. Gross, right? Well, it gets worse. The two former heroes fight each other, and it ends with Hulk easily beating Logan, ripping him apart and eating him. Yeah, we can't really show the full extent of this gruesome ending because, well, just imagine it's rainbows and butterflies that come out of Logan when he's ripped apart. And you think that's the end, but nope, it gets insane. Later, thanks to Logan's healing factor, he actually puts himself back together in Hulk's stomach and proceeds to burst out of him, eliminating this weird version of Hulk once and for all. What a way to go. I didn't really have a phobia of people bursting out of my chest, but I think I do now. Be careful what you eat, folks. There'll be a few entries on this list of people who think with their heads and realize that fighting Hulk head-on may not be the best idea and have to find different ways to solve their Hulk problem. First up is, of course, Deadpool. Everyone loves Deadpool. Everyone wants Deadpool in the MCU so that he can bounce off of the Avengers in his own special Deadpool way. At least, that's what I want. There's a major logistical nightmare to that idea, but who cares? I just want Deadpool in the MCU. Or who knows, if they followed the classic comic Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, then maybe it's best he stays in his own little world for a while. The title of the comic pretty much sums it all up, right? Deadpool goes on a mission to wipe out everyone in the Marvel Universe. And although this is a fun comic, you have to wonder if his methods would actually work on the heroes. I mean, he takes Spider-Man out by just shooting him in the head, which feels like something Spidey should be able to sense and dodge. He does get creative with a lot of other Avengers though, like he uses PIM particles to hide bombs in the Avengers compound and blows the more fleshy ones into the afterlife, while he also uses PIM particles to make Thor's hammer grow to an extreme size as it's about to go back to him, which crushes the God of Thunder. After those two events, the Hulk's demise is a little bit of a letdown. So Hulk shows up, rips Deadpool apart, and then calls it a day. But of course, Deadpool heals and then follows Hulk until he reverts back to his Banner persona, leaving Deadpool the opportunity to decapitate Banner, thus ensuring the Hulk can't come out anymore. Would that work in the MCU? I don't know. We've seen Bruce become a crumpled mush pile in Thor Ragnarok, and Hulk still saved him. But it's Deadpool. Deadpool can do anything, right? It's always great to see more average heroes take on the big dogs, and that's what happened in the Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe storyline, which paints the picture of instead of Frank Castle losing his family to a gangland slaying, his wife and children are collateral damage in a massive superhero fight. This causes the Punisher to want to start punishing heroes instead of villains. One of his first casualties in his actual crusade is Spider-Man, because Spidey always has bad luck in terms of these comic crossovers, and then the Punisher starts working his way to the Hulk. It's a pretty simple execution method. The Hulk goes on a rampage, the Punisher uses a dart gun to put a tracking transmitter on him, then when Hulk reverts back to Bruce Banner in an alleyway, Punisher does what he does best and gets rid of Bruce Banner. It doesn't have a whole lot of style, but the Punisher doesn't really care about that. He cares about getting the job done, and it's clear that someone like Frank Castle needed to be a bit smarter when it came to taking down someone as powerful as the Hulk. Although I think it's safe to say the original Civil War comic series was better, the sequel series, Civil War II, definitely had its share of highlights. One of those is when Hawkeye took out Bruce Banner. It's a pretty shocking moment. The whole setup is how the two sides are divided about what to do in terms of stopping people who didn't necessarily do anything wrong yet, but could. There was an inhuman precog who could see the future and see horrible events before they happened, which led to a whole the future set in stone versus the future can be changed type of debate. Anyways, the precog Ulysses saw a vision that Hulk was going to go on another rampage and cause massive destruction and death to the people around him. When Captain Marvel and others go to arrest Bruce, Hawkeye immediately shoots him with an arrow, killing him. It turns out Bruce Banner had come to Hawkeye much earlier and gave him a special arrow to take him out for good if there was ever a chance he'd lose control again. So Hawkeye was soon cleared of all the charges brought against him, but it led to the death of the Hulk, which is always a shame. Onslaught is one of those X-Men villains that I'm surprised we haven't seen in live action yet. Maybe he could be a great villain in the eventual X-Men Avengers crossover because he's powerful enough to destroy the whole world. I mean, he basically tried that in the comics. So in this event series, the mutants and the Avengers weren't doing great against this villain. Jean Grey tried a Hail Mary in shutting down Bruce Banner's brain so that the Hulk could act even more savage, and while this actually worked against Onslaught's physical form, Hulk ended up releasing his true psionic form, which unleashed a power that threatened to destroy everything and had the side effect of separating Banner and Hulk into two people. Though that didn't matter for very long because the only way to stop Onslaught's psionic powers were for all the heroes to sacrifice their lives and jump into his special beam thing to make him dissipate. It ended up working at a great cost, with most heroes, including the Hulk, gone. And because this is a comic book, it's very clear that all these heroes would stay gone forever, right? I always find Maestro's demise poetic in a fun, twisted Marvel Comics way. In the comics, Maestro is a version of the Hulk from an alternate future, where nuclear war wiped out mostly everyone except the Hulk. He had absorbed a lot of the nuclear radiation, and that drove him a bit nutty, while he still possessed Banner's intelligence on top of the extra strength thanks to the radiation. Our Hulk couldn't beat him in a normal fistfight, so he had to get creative. In the end, this unstoppable version of Hulk, known as Maestro, was stopped by some good old-fashioned time travel. Maestro was transported back to the moment of the very first gamma radiation explosion that turned Bruce Banner into the Hulk in the first place. And the amount was just too much for Maestro to handle, and it killed him. Imagine that. The event that turned you into the Hulk actually is the only thing that could stop the evil Hulk from the future. That's such an interesting concept, don't you think? Remember the fun fan theory that suggested the best way to beat Thanos was just to send Ant-Man in and literally to find a way inside Thanos through a certain body part and then expand to make him explode? Well, we got to see a version of that in the What If TV show. Yeah, I know it's not a comic demise, but I think it's so interesting that it deserved a mention. So while in Bruce Banner form, evil Hank Pym was able to inject himself secretly inside Bruce and into his bloodstream. Then, when he turned into the Hulk, evil Hank used those enlarging devices to make the Hulk's heart and body grow rapidly in just a few seconds. Hulk exploded everywhere, and it's actually a really smart way to beat the Hulk. It shows that if Ant-Man did want to turn evil, even the heavy hitters like Hulk would be in serious trouble. We all wanted a Planet Hulk adaptation, but it looks like the closest thing we'll get is the Thor Ragnarok subplot, which is fine and is better than nothing. Plus, it's a lot of fun, but it just would have been nice to see Hulk get the spotlight he deserves in the MCU. But a lot of people are also a fan of World War Hulk, which is the sequel series that sees Hulk return to Earth for revenge after his wife and unborn child are taken out in a massive explosion that the Illuminati seemed to have planted. But there's another what if that asks, what if Hulk sacrificed himself instead? In that story, Hulk throws his wife and unborn child to safety just in time, causing Hulk to perish when the massive explosion incinerates the rampaging green monster. This in turn causes his wife to go to Earth and seek revenge. And if you thought Hulk was scary, well, his wife isn't much better. It's nice to include a death on this list that sees Hulk dying specifically to save someone else. I mean, that's better than being executed in an alley, right? At the end of the Indestructible Hulk comic series, Bruce Banner was shot by a mysterious assailant. It turns out it was none other than Betty Ross, Bruce's comic love and his MCU old flame that he never mentions anymore. Betty had knowledge that the Hulk was going to cause an extinction-level event and made the difficult choice to end Hulk by going through Bruce. Though, again, this is the comics where things are never that simple. Bruce and Hulk didn't technically die here, but they weren't the same after this. Bruce suffered severe brain damage where he lost his genius intellect, and that led to the creation of Doc Green, a new version of the Hulk who was super smart himself. Wild for sure. Thor Ragnarok may have had Hulk almost beaten by a giant wolf, but in the comics it took it one step farther. During an arc when Hulk was Professor Hulk, he was fighting a Thor imposter. This eventually led to a confrontation with the creature known as Horfin, the child of the Fenris wolf and a frost giantess. Hulk and his ally Agamemnon realize they're in trouble when Horfin appears and it eats the two of them, killing them instantly. How do I know they didn't survive this? Well, because the comic literally ends with the words, "and then they died," just in case you weren't clear by all the green blood around the monster's mouth. And yes, this counts as a death, even though the very next issue sees Professor Hulk's soul trying to escape the prison he now finds himself in. Now, I kind of wish Fenris won against the Hulk in Thor Ragnarok, sending Hulk and Bruce on their own spiritual journey together in a solo movie. That's not too much to ask for, right? This one is more of an honorable mention because I think it's more of a metaphorical death rather than a literal one. In the comic arc Hulk: The End, we see that frequent scary future where nuclear holocaust has wiped out everyone except the Hulk and this special breed of giant cockroach that wants to feed on Hulk's regenerating flesh. Gross. But something really tragic happens at the end of the story. Bruce suffers a heart attack, and if he dies, then the Hulk dies too. Banner tries to convince Hulk to let him go so that they both don't have to be alone anymore, so that they can find peace in death, but Hulk says no. He changes into Hulk at the last second, leaving Banner gone forever. If Hulk ever changes back into Banner, then Hulk will die, but Hulk doesn't want that. He wants to prove he's the strongest, and the only way to do that is to keep on living in this world alone without anyone and only giant cockroaches to beat up on. It's one of the most tragic ends to a Hulk comic, and although Hulk is technically alive at the end of it, he's basically dead on the inside. Okay, I had to save a fun one for last. In the Ultimate Universe, there exists a version of the Hulk that's lovingly nicknamed Nerd Hulk. It's a clone from Bruce Banner's stem cells, and basically it's Banner's intellect with Hulk's brute strength, but without the anger. Anyways, the Ultimate Universe had to deal with an outbreak of vampires, and it got messy. Eventually, Nerd Hulk was turned, and while this intelligent group of vampires grew stronger, Nerd Hulk eventually took control and became their new leader. So yeah, Nerd Hulk led a vampire army. Where's that in the MCU? Anyways, in order to beat this horde of vampires, Captain America, who thanks to the super soldier serum had purged the vampire virus from his body, used a special hammer to teleport them all to Iran where the sun was up. Everyone started to burn, even Nerd Hulk, and if that wasn't enough, while Nerd Hulk was on fire, Captain America decapitated him once and for all. Hey, when I started this list, I didn't think I'd be writing Nerd Hulk gets turned into a vampire and then is decapitated by Captain America while on fire, but here we are.
I own about 2 pairs of pants that I rotate every other day. This guy has a high-tech battle armor suit for every day of the year. He's Iron Man, folks. The suit is him and he is the suit.
Told you.
I see you're confused, since he nearly made it to triple digits in terms of the mark number of his suits. Yes, it's true, during Tony Stark's time in the MCU, he wore a wide array of various battle suits, each slightly different from the next. Whether it be the Mark 1 or the Mark 101, Tony loved to put a little flair into each of his special projects in order to save the world. Which were his best? Well, let's find out right now. There is something to be said for nostalgia and iconic status. And though this rust bucket may not look too pretty, it certainly got the job done. But I remember that, as Obadiah Stane and my friend Tim for some reason like to say, Tony built it in a cave with nothing but a box of scraps. Then you couple that with the fact that he had to trick the people actively watching him that he wasn't making a giant robot suit. Knowing all of that makes the Mark 1 a pretty impressive feat of engineering. Compared to later models, however, it doesn't even compare. Tony doesn't quite have the same mobility with the Mark 1 as he does with other suits. It is bullet resistant and has enough force behind it to knock down doors. It's complete with flamethrowers and a rocket-powered grenade that appears to be activated via lawnmower pull cord. Powered by the first ever successful miniaturized arc reactor, as Tony himself even said, the suit only had a couple minutes of juice in it. It's the element of surprise that really helps Tony escape the 10 rings. With any other model suit, it's likely Tony could have strolled out of there, twirling a cane all the while. The Mark 1 had one glorious flight in it, and Tony used it as his final push to escape after destroying all of his weapons that the 10 rings had acquired. The flight was more of a launch that ended with Tony crashing in the desert with the pieces of the Mark 1 falling from the sky around him. Though the suit would later serve as the inspiration for the Ironmonger armor,
Where do you think you're going?
this first design is all about what it would lead to after helping one of the world's greatest heroes become fully realized. Thanos could likely crush it into a hunky metal ball and take it bowling. Known as the prodigal son, I kinda hate the Mark 42 armor featured in Iron Man 3. It gets taken down by a freaking semi-truck for Pete's sake. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Hey, why don't you try getting hit by a semi-truck and see how many pieces you break into? I get it. But Tony has been able to survive being hit by moons, and a really angry green scientist in other versions of his armor. Iron Man 3 is all about who Tony is outside of the suit. He doesn't need a suit of armor to prove that he truly is Iron Man. He takes on bad guys through much of the film without even wearing a suit, and I think the joke of the Mark 42 is that it's probably Tony's worst design in a long time. It highlights Tony's ability as a hero though, because it shows what he can do creatively with such a piece of garbage. After implanting devices in his arms, Tony is able to call the suit to him piece by piece from anywhere in the world. He can also control the full suit while not in it.
I think they all made it.
He did do some incredible things with it, like save Pepper as well as a group of fallen government officials. But at the end of the day, the best thing this suit did was blow up. And even that didn't kill the main villain. The Mark 42 was what happens when Tony gets bored. And if he had other options at the time, I think it would be somewhere around his 41st choice.
You happy now?
The Mark II armor is certainly an improvement over the Mark I. It was definitely a giant leap closer to the look we are used to seeing. Lacking a paint job, this was Tony's first suit he was able to fly in. For the most part, the suit was just used as a prototype until the next version could be improved upon. This is how Tony discovered some issues. For example, try not to land on a multi-level structure, as you'll go crashing through the floors and destroy a priceless car. Secondly, don't fly too close to the moon, as that ice buildup is a real pain. Luckily, this knowledge wound up coming in handy when fighting Ironmonger later, but it nearly cost Tony his life on the first go-around. It should be noted that the Mark II is the suit that Rhodey stole from Tony's place in Iron Man 2, and eventually became the basis for the first War Machine armor. It's definitely a technological marvel, but its kinks and unreliability put it pretty low on a list of Tony Stark's first choices for a rowdy Saturday night.
I told you to shut it down.
The Mark 46 armor featured in Civil War is definitely not one of Tony's best, but it's still a pretty cool piece of hardware. This is especially true in the way he puts it on. And no, I'm not talking about that little watch that turns into a glove for about 10 seconds. No, the Mark 46 armor has all the standard upgrades that the earlier models had, but it's so low on this list because how easy it's beaten. Essentially, a couple punches from 2 super soldiers really put this armor out of commission. Cap was essentially able to take away Tony's ability to fly, and easily took out his targeting system. At the end of the day, Bucky and Cap are 2 good fighters, but something tells me if this armor goes down that easily, it wouldn't stand much of a chance against some foes who pack just a little bit heavier of a punch. The Mark V armor is pretty cool, mostly because it is stored in a suitcase. Mark V was really the first time we saw Tony get creative with the way he puts on his suit. V had all the standard upgrades of suits before it, with slightly more convenience in a pinch. Overall, the armor looks cool and functions properly, but it's hard to deny that it was nearly destroyed by a shirtless Russian dude with a whip. Whiplash tore this armor apart, to the point where Tony's fingers were sticking out of the gauntlet. Usually, Tony is the one to have the drop on his enemies, but in this case, it seemed that Ivan Vanko was able to do a lot of damage to a very high-tech suit. Plus, seeing some of the other ways Tony developed to put his suit on, a suitcase really becomes not all that special. This is the icon, baby. Hot Rod Red and Gold. After working out the kinks from the Mark II, Tony created this masterpiece capable of fighting the world's greatest terrorists, and a really jealous friend of his dad's. Now, this suit isn't perfect, as Stane is able to tear it apart, but it did improve things like the icing problem, which led to a turning point in the battle. It's got high-tech targeting systems and missiles capable of completely destroying fully loaded tanks. It took on 2 state-of-the-art fighter jets, and most importantly, it revealed Iron Man to the world. The Mark III will forever go down as one of the images that people think of when they think of the birth of the MCU, and for that it gets some style points. One of the only special things I or anyone knows about the Mark IV suit is that it has a filtration system for when Tony can't exactly find the nearest bathroom. The Mark IV outside of that is remarkably similar to the Mark III. It has very few updates and upgrades, and honestly gets its butt kicked by the Mark II. Granted, Rhodey operating the Mark II was how you say sober. And Tony in the Mark IV was how you say not. Besides his incredible aim, destroying champagne bottles and watermelons, I can't really think of a spectacular thing the suit has done. Maybe survive being launched into a fireplace, but even then, that's a stretch. There's not much that can really be said about this next suit. That's the Mark 47 armor featured in Spider-Man Homecoming.
No.
The only real action this suit saw was rescuing Spider-Man from drowning, and helping hold a ferry cut in half together. Now, it is equipped with several other rocket engines that help to fix the torn boat, but outside of that, we don't see the suit do a whole lot. Tony is able to remote pilot it from halfway around the world, which is definitely a cool feature.
Here.
And given its Mark number, I imagine it has some of the same upgrades as the suit seen prior. It certainly looks cool, and Tony makes quite an entrance surprising Peter, but overall I would say the suit is really nothing special. The final suit worn by Tony in Iron Man 2 is the Mark VI armor. This armor is famous for being the first one powered by the new and improved arc reactor. Tony's old reactor was giving him palladium poisoning, slowly killing him.
Trust me, I know I'm good at this stuff.
Leading to drunk tirades and ultimately dangerous behavior. Tony had to synthesize an entirely new element in an impressive amount of time that really made Jarvis shut up, which was then used as the core to an insanely powerful and non-poisonous arc reactor. Due to this new power source, the Mark VI could handle some great upgrades. It was no longer just completely torn apart by electrically charged whips, but instead, along with War Machine, took out an entire battalion of hammer drones. Perhaps the most impressive addition to the Mark VI is Tony's laser beam weapon. With a quick spin, Tony cuts everything in the circle around him in half. Granted, he can only use it once, but it essentially ended that part of the battle in an instant.
I think you should lead with that next time.
Lucky for Tony, the Mark VII armor has a pretty incredible ability to catch things. Unfortunately, he had to skip the spinning rims.
Then skip the spinning rims, we're on the clock.
This is the suit that caught Tony when Loki threw him off the top of Avengers Tower. He then proceeded to use it to fight the Chitauri in the Battle of New York. This suit showed an incredible amount of endurance and weapons that genuinely make it one of Tony's most impressive, even to this day. It is loaded with rockets that come out of just about every part of the suit. He used it to destroy a flying Leviathan from the inside. He took out incredible numbers of Chitauri, and ultimately used it to save New York. One of the most impressively surprising things about the suit is how long it was able to sustain Tony in space. It's likely that Marks 1 through 6 would have exploded immediately after entering the vacuum of space, but the Mark 7 kept one of the world's greatest heroes alive. This shows incredible quality in the construction of the suit. When Tony and the rest of the Avengers went to Africa to confront Ultron and the twins, he wore a little number called the Mark 43. This was the first suit Tony built after he blew up all of his others at the end of Iron Man 3. Nothing like showing your love in the form of destroying all your security just for a cool fireworks display. Needless to say, it has all the gadgets. The most impressive thing about this is how easily it takes out Ultron, or at least the shell of Ultron at the time. Unfortunately, this suit is most known as the suit Tony wore under an exponentially cooler suit. This one, however, still gets the job done. It's kind of understated how powerful the Mark 45 suit is. This is the suit Tony dons for the final confrontation with his biggest mistake in the form of Ultron. It's the classic case of your robot son losing it and dropping the country of Sokovia out of the sky. You know that old tale. But back to the suit. Sure, it flies, packs a punch, wrecks some anonymous robots. But this suit really displayed impressive levels of power. Using just the repulsor in his chest, Tony is able to superheat the entire core of the falling country. Following this, Thor was able to absolutely obliterate the makeshift meteor. Then, of course, the pieces began to fall on Tony himself. The fact that Tony survived this ordeal is a real testament to how strong the suit is. Granted, while the suit is cool, it definitely wasn't Tony's best invention in the Battle of Sokovia, given that Vision was just flying around phasing through everything and wrecking shop. Honestly, Vision kinda makes most of Tony's suits look like children's toys. It's hard to pick just one, so this entire entry goes to the fleet of suits known as the House Party Protocol. What do you get when you combine an insomniac genius billionaire playboy philanthropist and an acute paranoia for the incoming end of the world? You get just about the greatest collection of weaponized suits anyone could ask for.
Everybody needs a hobby.
This flying legion of Iron Men is composed of various models of suits, all with a unique touch to differentiate them from each other. Which is ironic, considering that they're all controlled simultaneously by Tony's sophisticated artificial intelligence Jarvis. You have Igor, a sturdy machine that was capable of stabilizing the entire falling oil rig. The Igor suit is so strong that during its introduction, fans actually thought it was the Hulkbuster. There's also special suits like Red Snapper and Heartbreaker, which tear apart extremist fighters like cotton candy. In total, there were probably somewhere between 30 and 40 suits on the battlefield at once. It really was a sight to see, and I know it was cathartic for Tony to blow them all up, but you have to think they could have been put to better use than that. The Mark 50 was the first nanotech designed suit that Tony invented and was first seen in Avengers Infinity War. This is an incredible technological marvel. Granted, it's one that Shuri and Black Panther were miles ahead of, but who's counting? This suit is made of nanotech that is all stored in a housing unit on Tony's chest. It can use the nanites to instantly form new weapons like blades, rocket-powered punching machines, and extra repulsors. Tony even survived a direct hit from a moon in the Mark 50.
You throw another moon at me.
The one drawback is that as the nanites get punched away from damage in fights, Tony has to repurpose them from other locations in order to cover his butt. We saw this lead to a near fatal mistake during his first fight with Thanos. After Thanos had taken off a good chunk of armor, Tony's midsection became exposed, and Thanos impaled him with his own blade. Besides that one weakness though, the suit is top of the line.
Nanotech, you like it?
Veronica, aka the Hulkbuster, is one of Tony's most impressive suits of armor. It's probably because the design of it was in part contributed by Dr. Banner, the man who it was specifically designed to fight against. The Hulkbuster armor is so cool that you can wear another normal suit of armor while operating inside of it. It takes several arc reactors, not just in the chest but in some of the joints as well, to power this behemoth of a preventative measure. The whole purpose of Veronica is to be able to subdue one of the most powerful monsters in the known universe, the Hulk. This guy was king of the freaking gladiators on an alien planet, for crying out loud. What's even more incredible is that this was actually achieved. In Age of Ultron, after the Scarlet Witch sent the Hulk on a rampage like no other, and took down most of the other Avengers, it was up to Tony to stop his friend Bruce from hurting anyone.
Stand down!
Now, I'm not going to say no one got hurt, but regardless, it's still impressive. The Hulkbuster is complete with insane strength and repulsor blasts much more effective than other suits. The best part is that as the Hulk tears away the suit piece by piece, it is followed by a floating first aid station that constantly replenishes it. This suit is so effective that it basically took the Hulk's place in the Battle of Wakanda when Bruce chose to pilot it. Avengers Endgame saw what I believe to be the most powerful version of the Iron Man suit. This saw the perfected version of the nanotech suit seen in Avengers Infinity War. I guess Tony did have 5 years to work out the kinks so as not to get stabbed again. It's unfortunate that it couldn't protect against Infinity Stone radiation, but I really doubt any of his suits could. Regardless, Tony was able to take on Thanos more successfully, and cleverly used the nanotechnology to steal the stones from him at the perfect time. He survives being buried in the Avengers compound, and manifests new weapons unlike anything we had seen before. It truly is the peak of Tony's inventing, and him passing on inside his best suit is really just poetic justice.
Iron Man.
Hey, and welcome to CBR. Iron Man's sacrifice in Avengers Endgame was essential for closing his character arc and enabling the MCU's evolution. It symbolized his transformation from selfish to selfless, marking a pivotal emotional moment. Why Iron Man died. Tony Stark's journey in the MCU is one of serious personal growth. When we first met him in Iron Man, Tony's this arrogant billionaire, living the high life with little care for anyone outside his own circle. He's all about his company, making weapons and enjoying the perks of being rich and powerful. At this point, he's more of a playboy than a hero. He doesn't seem to care about the consequences of what he's creating, let alone the people who might be hurt by it. As the MCU goes on, Tony faces challenges that really push him to grow, in both his solo films and in other MCU films like the Avengers movie, Captain America Civil War, and Spider-Man Homecoming. By the time we get to Avengers Endgame, Tony's transformation is complete. In the end, he's not the same guy who used to throw around snarky one-liners and create weapons for profit. He's grown into a selfless hero who understands the weight of his decisions. When he makes the ultimate choice to sacrifice himself to use the Infinity Stones and defeat Thanos, it's the final step in his arc. He's gone from a man who made weapons of mass destruction to one who's ready to die to save everybody else. Tony's death in Endgame is more than just a plot point, it's a huge moment for the MCU. Sacrifice has been a key theme throughout the franchise, but Tony's sacrifice stands out because of his journey. His death is the ultimate symbol of what being a hero is really about. Not just fighting bad guys, but being willing to give up something that means everything to you for the good of others.
Tony Stark, I'm totally fangirling.
Oh, same here. We can swap autographs after the fight.
For over a decade, Iron Man was the face of the franchise. His journey started in 2008, and every major story in the MCU had some connection to him. He wasn't just a hero, he was the foundation for the whole cinematic universe. Tony's passing also marked the end of an era for the MCU. He's been one of the central figures for over a decade, so when he died, it's not just a loss for the characters, it's the end of the original Avengers team. The original Avengers had their time, and their arcs were pretty much finished by Endgame, and they couldn't keep carrying the weight of the MCU forever. Tony's death opens the door for new heroes to step up and for the MCU to evolve into something fresh. We get to see Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and Captain Marvel take on bigger roles and explore new stories. The MCU needed that shift to make room for new stories and these fresh faces. Without Tony's death, it would have been tough for the MCU to really move forward and embrace the next phase of storytelling. Take Spider-Man, for example. After Tony's death, Peter Parker is left to deal with the grief of losing his mentor. It's the perfect setup for the next phase of the MCU, and Tony's death is the catalyst for that change. His sacrifice allowed Marvel to respect the Avengers' legacy while opening up space for fresh storylines and different kinds of characters to expand the MCU. This shift lets the MCU expand into new territories, like with shows like WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and movies like Shang-Chi, without always being tied to the past. And honestly, Tony's death was a big part of how the MCU was able to mature. The stories were no longer just about the original Avengers. It was time for the universe to grow and include new voices and perspectives. With Tony gone, the MCU could broaden its horizons and go in new directions. But his legacy still lives on in the new characters and storylines that follow. His sacrifice gave the MCU the room it needed to evolve while still honoring what came before. Tony Stark's death wasn't just the end of a character arc, it was the MCU's way of moving on.
I think with a little more mentoring,
Could be a real asset to the team.
One of the biggest impacts of Tony's death was on Peter Parker, who was basically Tony's protege. In Spider-Man: Far From Home, we really see how much Tony's passing hits Peter. Tony was more than just a mentor. He was a father figure, guiding Peter through the ups and downs of being a young hero. After Tony's death, Peter is left to pick up the pieces of his life and his role in the world. He spends the movie struggling with whether he's ready to step into Tony's shoes and continue his legacy. But what's cool about Peter's journey is that it's not just about becoming the next Iron Man. It's about finding his own identity and figuring out how to be a hero on his own terms. The emotional journey Peter goes on trying to live up to Tony's expectations while also trying to be himself is one of the key storylines that moves forward in the MCU. Plus, Tony's tech, like the Iron Spider suit, becomes a big part of Peter's arsenal as he continues to fight bad guys in Tony's absence. With Tony gone, the Avengers need to change too. The original team wasn't going to stick around forever, and the new generation has to step up.
I'm putting together a team, and I want you on it.
That's where characters like Captain Marvel, Sam Wilson, who is now the new Captain America, each of them has a unique role to play in the future of the MCU. Sam taking on the mantle of Captain America is a huge moment because it's not just about holding on to Steve Rogers' legacy, it's about how Sam, with his own experiences and values, can redefine what it means to be Captain America. It's the same with Carol Danvers, who steps into a bigger role after Tony's death, dealing with cosmic-level threats and becoming a major player in the MCU's future. The new Avengers aren't just trying to replace the old crew, they're carving out their own space and creating fresh dynamics that keep the universe evolving. Even though Tony's gone, his tech is still shaping the MCU. His inventions, like the Iron Man suits, AI systems, and all the gadgets he created, continue to influence the world around him. Take Spider-Man, for example. Peter inherits a lot of Tony's tech, from the suit he uses to fight villains to the AI system that help him navigate his battles. Tony's tech plays a major role in how other characters, like Shuri in Black Panther, and the new characters in Armor Wars, continue to innovate and expand upon what Tony started. The tech is a double-edged sword, though. In Spider-Man: Far From Home, we see the Edith system. Even dead, I'm the hero, a powerful AI Tony leaves behind, which Peter ends up inheriting. But with great power comes great responsibility, and Tony's tech can either be used for good or fall into the wrong hands, causing chaos. That theme of responsibility and the consequences of technology is something that will continue to play out in the MCU. Tony's death cleared the way for the next phase of storytelling, where the new generation could step in, take the reins, and build on the foundation he laid. It wasn't just an ending, it was a new beginning for the MCU. How do you think that the MCU will continue to evolve?
Bruce Banner says he's always angry, but where did he get that surplus of rage from? Comic book fans know gamma radiation is only half of the equation, and there are many facts missing in the MCU version of the Incredible Hulk. Here's why it's way past time this hero got his own origin story, and how it could be exactly what the MCU is missing. And before you call me out in the comments section, no, I'm not forgetting about 2008's The Incredible Hulk. At the moment. It's far from the worst film out there, but it is pretty forgettable, especially since it came out the same year the somehow more incredible Iron Man flew into the box office. Considering how much the characters of Hulk and Bruce Banner have evolved since then, I think their origin story is worth a second and much more thorough look. After all, he made the transition from Edward Norton to Mark Ruffalo. Isn't science amazing? The Incredible Hulk gave us a basic abridged backstory in which Bruce Banner was subjected to tons of gamma radiation, which is something I don't recommend trying at home. But comic book fans know that there's another important ingredient when making up a Hulk, and that is repressed rage and trauma. We know Banner's always angry, but why? There have been many different versions of his backstory over the years, but none that we've seen incorporated into the MCU.
Just trust me when I tell you I've heard them all.
Not this one.
To make the prospect of a proper backstory even more tantalizing, we've come really close to learning about Banner's past. There's a deleted scene in The Incredible Hulk in which Banner tries to take his own life, and he later references it during the Avengers when talking about how indestructible his other form is.
I put a bullet in my mouth and the other guy spit it out.
Was he driven to the brink simply because of his connection to the Hulk, or was his past trauma a contributing factor? In the 1978 Incredible Hulk TV series, he was tormented by the fact that he failed to save his wife from a fatal car accident. Then in 2003, we had another film about the character simply called Hulk, which touched on this hero's complicated relationship with his father. When Thaddeus Ross gave David Banner a firm no on the topic of human experimentation, the scientist decided to do the testing on himself. I know it seems like there's no way this could have gone wrong. He believed his son inherited some of the impact of his super soldier experiment, and when Ross called him out, he caused an explosion and a lot of psychological pain for his son, who later repressed those painful memories. According to the comic books, Banner's father was a major source of his rage, which led to his transformation into the Incredible Hulk. Without going into terrible, traumatizing detail, let's just say that he makes his dad from the Hulk movie look like Father of the Year. Now, I'm not asking Marvel to go that dark in their family-friendly franchise, but I think there's room to include information about Banner's painful past in a tasteful way. It's a big part of his origin story, which explains not only his transformation into the Hulk, but many aspects of his personality and motivations for his actions. Revisiting Banner's past could also be a way to bring back elements from the Incredible Hulk movie that have been shelved for far too long. Whatever happened to his love interest, Betty Ross? Before he and Black Widow had their seemingly random flirtation, he was smitten with Ross, who just disappeared and was never heard from again. She was a smart, capable, and caring character, and it's a shame she vanished after her appearance in this movie. And then there's Samuel Stearns, who got a dose of Banner blood and ended up mutating into the comic book character known as the Leader. I was very excited to see this villain on the big screen fighting the good people of the MCU, but over a decade later, I'm still waiting. Give us more information about Banner's past, and let's see him face off against the Leader. Looking back at Banner's past could also give us a chance to see Tony Stark in the MCU again, or at least his father, Howard Stark. Not that I'm missing Iron Man or anything like that. There is another character from Banner's past that we will definitely be seeing more of in the future. Jennifer Walters is his cousin as well as the hero She-Hulk. They share family members as well as experiences growing up together, and revealing these would give us more information about Walters and Banner. Since we're getting a She-Hulk show on Disney+, this could be the perfect excuse for a standalone Hulk film that could reveal the pasts of these two characters. I know everything from the comics won't make it into the MCU, but maybe Marvel could try the old comic technique of declaring the Incredible Hulk non-canon and retconning his origin story. We could see Mark Ruffalo experiencing his first transformation and learn more about how he became the hero he is today. Yeah, there are some copyright issues that would have to be worked through regarding the character, but let's not pretend like Disney's cash couldn't make that kind of a problem disappear.
Hey, and welcome to CBR. Hulk and Red Hulk are similar in a lot of ways. Both characters are huge, immensely powerful, and able to withstand anything short of complete and utter obliteration. There's no greater matchup than Hulk versus Red Hulk. But who would win?
That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry.
Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, is one of Marvel's strongest heroes. He is formidable, mean, green, and brute force incarnate. After surviving a G-bomb explosion, Banner was imbued with nearly uncontrollable powers, which allowed him to tap into a different side of himself with the aid of rage. Hulk is a character who survives time and again through sheer imperviousness. Even when Hulk gets beaten down in battle, it's only a matter of time before he bounces back and hits harder. He has a nearly infinite strength pool, which amplifies the angrier Hulk gets. It should be noted that Hulk loses control at a certain point, and there could be collateral damage.
Well, if one wasn't enough, a new Hulk has arrived.
The Red Hulk, revealed to be Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, is a lot like Banner's Hulk in many ways. Both are big and far stronger than most combatants that they come across. Red Hulk is given a strength cap, but other abilities that give him a tactical edge. Red Hulk has an immensely robust base level strength, but instead of becoming stronger as he becomes angrier, Red Hulk has added absorption powers that serve as his battle upgrade. Red Hulk can absorb gamma radiation along with various cosmic energies depending on a battle's location, which produce intense nuclear heat.
They don't want a psycho, they want a soldier!
Before these characters go toe-to-toe, however, there's more to know about their respective journeys. The Edward Norton starring Hulk 2008 film in the MCU, Hulk proves his dominance over an unrelenting army. Hulk faces off against a pre-Red Hulk Thunderbolt Ross, and the experimental project that yields Abomination, a grotesquely transformed Emil Blonsky. Hulk stands victorious. During the Chitauri invasion aided by Loki, Hulk, along with the rest of the Avengers, stopped the certain destruction of New York, and eventually, the whole world. Hulk can lunge from one Chitauri ship to another, working his way through a barrage of gunfire without being phased. Hulk grabs Loki and thrashes him about like a rag doll, proving that if there's an opening, Hulk can launch a crucial strike that even gods can't withstand. In the comics, Red Hulk's initial appearance is mysterious, only for it to be later revealed that Thunderbolt Ross is actually the character's alter ego. The Red Hulk is a brutally efficient killing machine. His unpredictability gives him a particular edge in battle. Red Hulk knocks out a Watcher with a single punch. Watchers are immensely powerful, so even connecting with one's jaw is a feat in itself. Red Hulk isn't just extremely powerful, but he's willing to do whatever it takes just to prove his dominance. In the upcoming Captain America Brave New World, Thaddeus Ross becomes the President of the United States. While his transformation into the Red Hulk may jeopardize his political career, he still has far more reach and influence than Bruce Banner, which could help with his tactics for a battle between the two titans.
Allow me to school you in the art of war!
Getting into it, Hulk and Red Hulk are destined to collide in the MCU. Thaddeus Ross still holds a grudge against Bruce Banner for escaping him for so long. Two unstoppable forces going toe-to-toe makes for an exciting battle, but only one character can be victorious. Green Hulk isn't entirely a loose cannon, but the angrier he gets, the less control he has. This typically means that the Hulk is able to push past a breaking point and come out victorious, even if his methodology is less the subject of tactical prowess and more a comment on his sheer strength. In the MCU, Smart Hulk has emerged as another variant of the Hulk, which means that Banner may be able to employ more tactical plans in the battle. Conversely, Red Hulk retains most of the qualities that Thunderbolt Ross has. Red Hulk is a military man, and even in his Hulkified form, he retains the years of training that make him a superb battle tactician. Even more importantly, Red Hulk can transform at will. For Banner, turning into the Hulk is contingent upon a variety of factors, and it's not necessarily guaranteed that Banner can become the Hulk when the time calls for it. Banner's past with Betty Ross could also make him reluctant to fight her father, despite everything Ross has put him through over the years.
He's a fugitive.
You made him a fugitive.
Assuming Banner can transform before the battle begins, he and Red Hulk will trade blow for blow. This is where Hulk really thrives. With each attack, received or delivered, Hulk will likely get infuriated, adding substantially to his power. Thus, Red Hulk will face a dilemma. The more damage he inflicts against the Hulk, the more dangerous the Hulk becomes. Verging on nuclear meltdown, Red Hulk can melt a battlefield and cause certain damage to anyone shy of a Hulk. This also could make the Hulk wary of fighting Red Hulk, especially if he is in Smart Hulk form and fully understands the risks of Red Hulk's literal meltdowns. If they're trading blow for blow, the only way that Red Hulk can defeat Hulk is by employing a plan to either stymie Banner's transformative abilities or put Hulk in a position where he is immobilized long enough to subdue him. Hulk will not stop until the battle is done, but on several occasions he has been incapacitated. If Red Hulk can deploy an elaborate trap for the Hulk, then he can at least buy himself time to work out a way of actually stopping Banner. Unfortunately for Red Hulk, Banner is liable to become angrier and stronger with every move that Red Hulk has. At some point, Red Hulk will max out his strength, and Hulk will just have to be as unrelenting as always in order to defeat his opponent. Ultimately, the battle would be a grand spectacle with plenty of damage dealt to both sides. Hulk wins the battle due to his ever-increasing strength from his rage and his unrelenting attacks. This victory could be another turning point in the Hulk's MCU journey, leading him to either make peace with his past or slip further into the anger that is integral to both Bruce Banner and his Hulk forms, despite his desire to suppress these feelings. How do you think this showdown of the Hulks would go? Do you think Bruce Banner's MCU journey gives him an advantage? Tell us how you think this epic battle would play out in the comments below. Greetings, and thanks for joining us here at CBR. The Hulk has been out of commission in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a while, so we're left to ask, what happens to the Hulk in the MCU going forward? And more importantly, who else could take on the role? To date, several actors have portrayed the Incredible Hulk on screen. From Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno in the Incredible Hulk TV series to Mark Ruffalo as the MCU's main Hulk, each of these actors has placed their own spin upon the character. Ruffalo in particular has been the face of the Hulk for over a decade. Ruffalo's last appearance was in 2022's Disney Plus series She-Hulk Attorney at Law as a side character. 2 years after the She-Hulk series finale, no new announcements have been made regarding everyone's favorite green hero. With the multiverse saga coming to a close, there's still an opportunity to bring the Hulk or possibly multiple versions of Hulk back into the mix. He may not be a central character going forward, but it would be a disservice to not just the character, but the fans, if he should simply fade off into obscurity. In the upcoming Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, Doctor Doom's plan for the multiverse will likely take its inspiration from the numerous comics that deal with Doom's dislike of incursions, which have been a crucial, sometimes ignored part of the MCU over the past several years. It's a theory, but a working one at that Doom will strive to condense several multiversal strands into one. Whether he's pruning the universes like the TVA attempts in Deadpool and Wolverine, or taking the best of all possible worlds and creating a collage-like planet where he reigns remains to be seen. If Doom does pull from the multiverse, then there's no reason why Edward Norton and Eric Bana couldn't reappear within the MCU, at least to show that these films aren't written off completely just for the sake of moving forward. In a similar fashion to Spider-Man, No Way Home, or Deadpool and Wolverine, enveloping Edward Norton and Eric Bana to the MCU once more could give a strong homage to the MCU's original roots. But why should we stop at just a couple of past Hulks? There are plenty of viable performers who can bring new dimensions to the role now that Ruffalo's Bruce Banner has unceremoniously moved from center stage to the background. The most notable performer who has already hulked out unofficially is James McAvoy, who delivered a stellar performance, or performances, in M. Night Shyamalan's Split and its follow-up Glass, turning into the Beast sees McAvoy doing his best Berserker mode Hulk without actually going fully green. McAvoy is immensely talented and able to switch personae on a dime, which lends itself all the better to the radical transformation, beyond going green, that Dr. Banner experiences. Another contender could be Eddie Redmayne, seen in the Fantastic Beasts series, along with the recently released and well-received Peacock series, The Day of the Jackal. Redmayne is a phenomenal performer who can convincingly play a befuddled professor and later reveal himself to actually be a complex, calculating killer. Redmayne could bring a more Bixby-like version of Hulk to the screen, being a true, unapologetically nerdy version of Dr. Bruce Banner, only to later become the Hulk and also bring menace and intimidation to the Hulk's strength. Ryan Gosling's charm is no secret weapon. Everybody knows it and is well aware of the actor's abilities. What is also true is that Gosling is a versatile performer who can go toe-to-toe with the great action stars. See, for example, 2024's The Fall Guy. Gosling is funny, charming of course, and also really good at kicking ass. It would be great to see a version of the Hulk on screen who is a little more cartoonish, a little less uptight when he's Bruce. Still, Gosling could also bring the emotional depth that a figure like the Hulk needs, in whatever form he ends up taking. Motion capture technology allows for a lot of people to deliver performances that are physical, but ultimately have little to do with the high-flying fight sequences that fans see on the big screen. Josh Brolin's performance as Thanos is excellent, for sure, but there's little correlation beyond facial expressions that audiences see in those big battles that define the villain's appearance in the MCU. What is crucial, and almost forgotten at this point, is that actors lose themselves to their roles and truly adopt the mannerisms of the characters they're playing. After playing Gollum in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings franchise, Andy Serkis has become the go-to guy for serious motion capture performances.
My pocket.
3 guesses. It must give us 3 wishes.
From Supreme Leader Snoke in the Star Wars franchise to Caesar in the Planet of the Apes reboot franchise, he has brought many iconic characters to life, imbuing them with far more emotion and humanity than many people believed that CGI was capable of. Someone like Andy Serkis, who previously played Ulysses Klaue, aka Claw, in the MCU, could really make the most out of a Hulk who goes beyond being big, brawny, and short-tempered. Serkis could bring a missing physicality to the role of Hulk, not to mention the fact that an older Bruce Banner could be a boon for audiences who are used to their favorite roles being taken by youngsters. With Venom: The Last Dance having come and gone to little fanfare, it seems that Tom Hardy's schedule is open. The well-revered actor is known for risk-taking and sometimes ludicrous voice acting, but he's got the range and the physicality to bring a sense of menace that's been lacking from the Hulk since Iron Man tamed him a decade ago. Tom Hardy could convincingly play Dr. Bruce Banner, albeit a beefy one, and then segue into the Hulk, who's not just going to jump around and smash things, but walk with a real sense of menace. The MCU, for all of its ecstatic high points, sometimes loses the gravitas that performers like Tom Hardy could bring to the role.
I'm kidding. I know, it's crazy. I'm wearing shirts now.
Yeah.
To bring Hulk back, the MCU needs Ruffalo to play a significant part in the upcoming Avengers 2-part finale to the Multiverse saga, Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. What this also means is that the multiverse, expanding and collapsing simultaneously, can provide fans with more Hulks than we know what to do with. As was the case with Spider-Man No Way Home, it turns out that it's relatively simple, besides licensing and contracts, to bring several Spider-Men together in one room. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield each had their distinct time in the spotlight wearing the websuit, but their return in No Way Home was rightfully considered one of the best decisions the MCU made in recent years. With Maguire, Garfield, and current MCU Spider-Man Tom Holland all in the same room was not just a great spectacle, but an emotionally rewarding decision that gave some closure to 3 separate Spider-Man stories.
Hey,
What are like some of the craziest villains that you guys have fought?
Seems you've met some of them.
The MCU could do something similar with Bruce Banner. Imagine the MCU's Hulk leading an army of Hulks in a grand battle on Battleworld in Avengers Secret Wars, ready to smash all of their opposition and save the day. Meeting alternate versions of himself could also help Bruce heal from some of his trauma from becoming the Hulk and balancing the public's view of him as a hero and a monster.
Puny God.
Hey, and welcome to CBR. We last saw Bruce Banner in She-Hulk attorney at law as the smart Hulk, but the hero has been missing from some of the recent films. With Doomsday and Secret Wars on the way, there's a possibility that Hulk, make that Hulks, plural, can appear in the big finale to the Multiverse saga.
I know, it's crazy. I'm wearing shirts now.
Yeah.
Hulk is one of the most revered Marvel heroes, and Mark Ruffalo's appearance as the big green brute has made the character all the more likable. Sadly, Hulk's solo endeavors seem cursed, and Marvel has forgone any Hulk-centric films, putting the character in a secondary role. Well, any Hulk is a good Hulk. It's high time that Bruce Banner return to the spotlight and reestablish himself as integral to the MCU. Most importantly, Hulk has been portrayed by more than just Ruffalo, with Edward Norton starring in the MCU Phase 1 film, The Incredible Hulk from 2008, and Eric Bana taking on the role in Ang Lee's woefully misunderstood film, Hulk, from 2003. And you can't forget Lou Ferrigno playing the Hulk in the original The Incredible Hulk TV series.
I'm always angry.
With the MCU currently pulling across films and other studio versions of characters, like in the immensely well-received Spider-Man No Way Home, it would be amazing for a multiversal team-up of Hulks to collide in one universe. One Hulk is virtually unstoppable, so imagine a whole bunch of them, especially if they're facing off against Dr. Doom and his army of Doombots. Hulk smash! With Dr. Doom coming to the MCU and Secret Wars serving as the grand finale of this latest phase, there's still time for multiversal shenanigans to bring alternate versions of heroes into the mix. With Red Hulk appearing in the new upcoming Captain America film and She-Hulk established in the MCU, it's time that Marvel explores the Hulk mythos and his alternate realities.
Hulk, always Hulk.
Hello and welcome to CBR. Edward Norton played Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, in The Incredible Hulk in 2008. Save for a few characters like Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, everything about the film was forgotten. But what if Edward Norton returned to the role? Since the 2008 film, Hulk has yet to receive another solo movie. With the Edward Norton starring movie and the previous one directed by Ang Lee starring Eric Bana, the big green brute has failed to draw audiences into his solo endeavors. And thanks to rights issues, it's unlikely that the Hulk will receive another attempt at a solo adventure.
Universal has the rights to the standalone Hulk movie, and for some reason, they don't know how to play well with Marvel.
Hulk does far better as a part of other characters' stories, and Mark Ruffalo has done a superb job portraying the ambivalent monster. But now it seems that there are few routes for the character after Hulk has become a mentor to She-Hulk and spent time on a Sakaran courier ship.
It's a little bit more complicated than that.
Bruce, trust me when I tell you I've heard them all.
Not this one.
Edward Norton's Bruce Banner could return before the grand finale of the Multiverse saga, presenting a different version of the character, while retaining all of the story elements from the 2008 film. While Ruffalo's Banner is out of the picture, it's a perfect time for Norton to step into the role once more and return, playing a crucial part in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. The MCU has undergone a lot of stylistic changes since Phase 1, but there's room for a character like Norton's Banner who has tactical prowess and a different flavor overall than Ruffalo's version of the character. Most importantly, the Norton version deals with more comic-related backstory, including his relationship with Thunderbolt's daughter Betty Ross, who is set to return in next year's Captain America: Brave New World. With big changes happening in the MCU, namely the fact that there are more newer heroes than original Avengers participating in active films, it's a good time to revisit a character who just had the unfortunate timing of appearing on screen in the same year that the first Iron Man came out. Let us know what you think about the possibility of Ed Norton returning to play Bruce Banner. Could the actor take on a different role within the MCU? Sound off in the comments below. Remember to hit subscribe before you go. Until next time, thanks for watching CBR.